violin. But before we get into it, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. Now, before you have learned the parts of the violin, the names of the strings, you learned how to hold the instrument with your left hand. You learned that the violin is all about the left side, left hand. You learned how to hold it in rest position or guitar position. You learned how to place the violin on your shoulder area, your collarbone, more specifically. And you learned how to shape your left hand like an L. You learned that this part of your hand does not touch the neck. You always want to leave room here. You learned how to cover those fingers like an umbrella over the strings. And you learned how to pluck with your pinky or fourth finger. Yes, you learned that the violin fingers that we use are there are four of them. One, two, three, and four. And you learned those to pluck those first two songs, the ant song and GDG stomp, with your fourth finger, right? And you learned the names of the strings E, A, D, and G. These are referred to as the open strings. Why are they open? Because we're not using fingers on them, on the fingerboard. And that's what we're going to talk about today. That's the new lesson today. How to place those fingers on the fingerboard, on a particular string. So we make the different pitches. Okay, so if you haven't already, I want you to grab your music journal because there may be some new words that I'm going to mention in today's video. One of the words that I just mentioned is pitch. So a pitch is simply musical sound. And in music, those pitches are referred to as A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, the first seven letters of the alphabet. So in music, when we get to G, we simply start over. So I would often have you, my students, recite the music ABCs, and that's just a way of reinforcing there's only seven letters, and when we get to G, we start over again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Write that down. The other thing is in music, when we are reading music and when you learn to read music, you will see patterns that go forward and backwards. So you also need to know how to recite and write A, B, C, D, E, F, G going backwards. G, F, E, D, C, B, A. G, F, E, D, C, B, A. So you must know your music ABCs going forward and backwards, because in music the pitches, the sounds, or another word for that, the notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, are moving up or down, forward or backward. Okay, so those are some other words to know in music, about the way sounds move. Okay, another way that A, B, C, D, E, F, and G is addressed is with syllables. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So do and do, you notice I said two do's. One is a low do and one is a high do. Just like when we say, for example, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, right? Remember I said when we get to G, we start over again. So, and we'll talk more about that when we, later. But just know for today, just know that the musical sounds can be referred to as letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and syllables. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. And you can go forward and backwards. So you should know those letters going backwards or those syllables going backwards as well. Now we're going to translate what I just said onto the instrument. Okay, and I like to say, I don't know why that appeared. We're going to translate our fingers. So we're talking about our fingers. How do you set your fingers? Now I brought out a student violin here. Your violin, because you're a beginner, has tape. This finger tape, and it's a visual aid to show you where to place the finger. So this first tape here would be for your first finger. This second tape's for your second finger. The third tape for your third finger. And the fourth tape for your fourth finger. Okay, simple, right? But there's a certain way that our fingers must go down on the instrument. And I'm gonna demonstrate this first without the violin. So if you hold up your left hand, this is a good way to practice. And I want you to bring all of your fingers down like this. What do you notice? This is what I want you to focus on. When your fingers come down, there is what I call a tabletop. So when you place your fingers on your instrument, on the fingerboard, on top of the tape, you're going to bring your finger down on the pad, on the tip of the pad, and it's going to come down like this. So you want to create that tabletop. So I should be able to, and we can practice this in class, but I should be able to put like a dime on your finger and it won't fall off. Now, the incorrect way of doing this would be if your fingers come down like that, right? Flat. You don't want that. So let me show you how that looks on the violin. I'm going to place my finger on the E string to demonstrate. So first, when your violin is, you have your violin up, your hand is up here. Remember, this is how you learned how to hold the instrument. I call this the high position. Okay. Yes, there are positions on the violin. You'll learn about that later. So this is the high position where your palm is touching the shoulder. And again, your thumb is here, not squeezing the neck, fingers over. So this is how you first learn. Okay, so now what we're going to do is slide. And by the way, this is up. Remember earlier, I just said the high position. So when we are going toward the bridge, this is going up. Okay, this is getting higher. When we go toward the scroll or the pegs, this is lower. Okay, so we're going to start here with our hand in the high position, and we're going to move our hand, slide the hand down the neck. And this is what's called first position. And this is where you are going to begin learning to make the different sounds. But first, before you do that, you got to know how to put the fingers down. So let's start with the E string. So I'm going to start with the first finger first, just to demonstrate how that finger should go down. So remember, it should look like that, tabletops, right? And you should practice doing this first. Okay. And then on the E string, you're going to roll the finger down and cover the first tape. And see, there's my tabletop. And on this side, my thumb, on this particular violin, the student has what I call a pillow. Sometimes I'll place that there if students keep moving their thumb around, but you want to set your hand on this side of the neck, and it should be not too high. Again, you don't want that, but it should be, just everything it should be comfortable. And of course, your left hand should be relaxed. You should be able to wiggle your fingers, wave your fingers, and we're going to roll the first finger down to cover the first tape. And then you're going to cover the second tape. And notice the tabletop. And then here's the third finger. It's going to go close to the second finger, so it's going to look like that. So second, third finger, and then here's the fourth finger. And notice how every finger that is that is covering the tape, that is on the fingerboard, it's curved. Every finger has a curve. See that? And my hand is still nice and open. See, here's that L shape, and with the fingers down. You could even practice this going up. My thumb stays on the side of the neck. So up and down. Up, and you're not squeezing. You know, you don't want to do that. That's squeezing, and you can feel the tension here when you do that. We don't want that. So just practice up and down. So when you do it off the violin, feel how relaxed your arm is, right? You're not squeezing. And so translate that to your instrument now. Up and down. Up and down. Or do one finger at a time. Here's a fourth finger. Here's a third finger. So these are little finger exercises to do. Okay. Now, make sure your elbow, and I know um, we would have talked about this already, but that elbow should be under. And yeah, we talked about this even when you learned the GDG stop, how when you're plucking, how your elbow swings, when you're going across the string, right? So when you're here on the G string, your elbow is a little bit more out. See? So you want to, remember that as you're practicing placing those fingers on the strings. Because here's the thing, if your elbow is not set, if your frame is not correct, it's going to be off. And when you go to play the note, it won't sound right. And it won't look right. And it won't feel right. And so here's an incorrect position. You see how I shifted my elbow toward the left? And look at what happened to my pinky. It's no longer curvy. Look at that. And even my ring finger, my third finger, is trying to fall down. Right, we don't want that. Fingers must be on the tip. So to fix that, look, watch what's going to happen. I'm going to bring my elbow around, and it fixed itself. So that's how your left arm should be. Okay, so that's the little lesson on how to place the fingers and a little exercise on how to get there. Now, just really quickly, and this part is easy, okay? Because if you know your alphabet, you can do this. Start from any letter of the music alphabet, that is, and say the letters going up. So for example, we're going to start on E. Here's E. I'm going to do this in rest position. So here's E. If I put my first finger, I cover the first tape here. What note does it, what note is it? Because it's going to change the sound. So open means no fingers, right? Open E. That's one of the first strings you learn, one of the first notes you learn. And now we're going to put our first finger on E. That note is F, right? F sharp, actually. See? So here's E. First finger would be F sharp. Don't worry right now about, well, what is a sharp? We will get into that later. Just copy what I'm doing. The second finger, G sharp. And the third finger, A. And then the fourth finger is B. You see how we're just stepping, oh, write that word down, stepping up. So as I step up, you just go to the next letter. Let's do the A string note. So here's open A. First finger on A is B. Second finger on A, C sharp. Third finger on A, D. Fourth finger on A, E. And you notice this E is the same as this E. Okay. D string notes. D. First finger on D, E. Second finger, F sharp. Third finger, G. which is the same as open G. And then fourth finger on D is A, which is like your open A. We call those ring tones, by the way. Ring tones are the same fingered note that is like the open string. The same note that you play with your finger, that is the same as your open string. Ring tones. Write that down. We'll get into what that means later as well. Let's do one more string, the G string. What are the notes on the G strings? So open G. What comes after G? First finger. A, which is like your open A. And then second finger is, what comes after A? B. Third finger, C. And then fourth finger, D, which is like your open D. That's it. I want you to practice that. Practice saying those letters. Say the name of the notes that your fingers make on each string. You can practice this in guitar position. Or if you want to hold it up like this, you can do that too, right? But practice it here because I want you to practice placing your fingers. And remember, your thumb sits here, and those fingers are going to come down like this on the tips, like tabletops. And then once you've done it that way, you can practice it like this. So first finger, if I'm on the A string, B, then C sharp, D, and E. And that's it. So let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you next time.